Hi, my name is Danny Womack. I'm the Executive Director of City Hope, and we appreciate you tuning in to our training videos. And this time we're going to give you a tool all about how to help our clients prioritize their own priorities. Let me start off with a story of a situation that I walked into before we had started City Hope and before really any training on how to handle domestic violence situations. And I walked into a church meeting. There was a group of women surrounding this one other woman, and the woman in the center of this group was in tears. And as I listened, it became evident to me that the woman in the center was a victim of domestic violence. And these very well-meaning women that were surrounding her were intently trying to get her to leave the situation. But this woman was very conflicted about it because she had her dog was at home and some other personal items were at the house, and she really wanted to go back and be able to take care of her dog. And these women, perhaps correctly so, were very concerned about her safety going back to the house. And as I listened, it just grew more and more intense, and honestly, it felt even more and more divided. It was like these well-meaning women versus this victim, versus it being something where she was being supportive. So I was able to take the young woman with me. She was in her early 20s, and take her into my office, and we sat and we began to talk. And I knew going in that this was a very dangerous situation, and that honestly what was going to be in her best interest was to leave the situation ultimately. But I knew I had an uphill battle for that particular night because this dog was of utmost importance to her. And you'll find in working with domestic violence victims or anybody that's trying to prioritize a number of different important things that there's a conflict that happens. And we need to be able to help them prioritize their priorities, which means first we have to understand what their priorities are. We really need to sit and listen as they share with us the thoughts that they're having, as they share with us the reasons why they want to take one particular path, or the reason why they want to take a different path. And as we do, we need to keep in mind their priorities. We need to understand what their priorities are and give them a way of thinking about the priorities that allows them to come to the conclusion that's going to be right for them. The women in that room were disregarding her priority of her dog, and therefore we're never going to win her over. So as we sat and we talked, and I started hearing her priorities, quickly I understood that her dog was a huge priority. I also understood that there was some jewelry that her grandmother had that was a huge priority for her, and if possible, she wanted to be able to get that as well. So it's not that she was opposed to leaving. She knew she needed to leave. She just wasn't ready to leave her dog and some of these other things behind. And so we used the tool of helping her prioritize her priority, which means literally I had my hand out and we were going and going through what her priorities were. And we were able to agree that first and foremost, even if she was going to be able to help her dog, or the jewelry was going to be of any type of importance, she had to stay safe. So we were able to determine that the very first priority was going to be everybody's safety. And after that first priority, the second priority absolutely was her dog. She wanted to make sure that that dog was taken care of. And the third priority, she really wanted to try to get these mementos and this jewelry and these pieces that belonged to her grandmother. She would like to be able to keep that with her. So knowing we had these three priorities, we then set about creating a plan that would let her tend to priority number 2 and 3 without compromising priority 1. which is how we use this tool. So as we began to focus on the dog, and she wanted to go home and make sure that the dog was fed and see if she could take the dog with her. So we started to brainstorm and look at safety. What would that look like? We asked questions like, when you drive by, if your husband is there, will you be able to tell? Will his car be there? What will it look like? And be able to help her recognize what safety would look like as she goes by. So the plan was she was going to drive by the house, and she was going to call right when she got to the house and give us kind of the scope of what she could see. Was there a vehicle there? Was there not a vehicle there? Were the lights on? Were the lights off? That type of thing. And she recognized that if she went by and his vehicle was there, that she could not take care of the dog without compromising the first priority of safety. And she was comfortable with that. She would be willing to drive on by the house because she knew that she had to stay safe first before she could work on being able to take care of the dog. But if everything looked okay and she felt comfortable, she was going to go into the house and be able to feed the dog, get some dog food, and take the dog with her, which meant she could take care of a very high priority as long as it didn't jeopardize the priority before that. And then ultimately, if she was able to have a few moments to go and to grab the things of her grandmother's without jeopardizing the safety of her dog or her own safety, she was going to be able to do that. So she became very much willing to look that night at leaving a violent situation because she felt like her priorities were heard. They were able to be addressed in a sequential way that made sure that she'd stayed safe in the process, and we could have a whole different conversation once she knew that we were going to take care of her priorities. So in conclusion, as you're working with domestic violence victims or human trafficking victims, understand that there could be a wide variety of priorities for your particular client. There may be children involved. There may be a job involved. All of these things are priorities that we have to hear and we have to be able to take into account in order to properly help our clients be able to decide what their next steps are going to be. Thank you.